When the time comes for a new game to play, there's just one place to turn at the end of the day. You never know what exciting game you'll see when you tune in to Board Game House on Twitch.tv. Find a game to back so you can be its owner. It's time once again for Derek's Kickstarter Corner.
The Kickstarter Corner this week has some surprises. Those surprises come at the end. We have a handful of new stuff that we're going to talk about that I think is pretty cool stuff, and then, we'll get there. So first up is Terranary, which is a zine quest RPG, just like Mall Kids. Except what's very different about this one is that there's no kids and there's no malls. Instead, you are in space and there's politics. So it's basically The Expanse meets the Outer Worlds, and I am here for it. It's space dramas with heroism, science, politics. You're in a system that has 7 planets. 3 of them are populated. One of those populated planets has a moon, and that's where the government is. So, it looks super cool, and it's part of the Zine Quest, so it's a simple RPG. Plus, it's introducing a new dice rolling system that uses, the only dice you need is 2 D12s. They don't go into a whole lot of detail about what the system is or what sort of the play style is, but I think it's pretty cool, and I personally don't think that there are enough space-based RPGs out there, so I'm here for this one. And it's $15. Like, there for this one, there's no PDF version, there's no digital version. You're just paying $15, and you're gonna get a physical copy of the RPG. So it's very simple. There are 6 days left on Terranary. I think I'm saying it right. Terranary. Terranary is how I assume it's pronounced. But there you go. 6 days left, $15. This Zine Quest thing, you're getting RPGs for cheap. And as we learned with Mall Kids, they fun as hell. So there you go. Next up is a board game. It is called Genotype. Basically, you are a scientist, and you are studying the genetic sort of reproductive and familial genes that go with sprouting beans. What color are the beans? What color are the flowers of the beans? It looks super cool. It's a worker placement and a dice drafting game. You're rolling dice to determine the genomes that are getting passed on to the generations. It's a super smart idea. It's apparently super educational, that you learn about genomes and familial traits and stuff like that. Plus worker placement and dice drafting, which we love. So go check that one out. It has 9 days left. It is $39 for the base game. The components on this one do look really nice in the base game. It comes with dice. It comes with thick boards. And then there's a $55 collector's edition that sort of upgrades all the pieces like most collector's editions do, where you're getting glass markers to track your genomes, as well as metal coins for the experience points and stuff like that. So, pow, Genotype, 45 to 90 minutes, 1 to 5 players. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks great for kids. I really want to play it. I'm really hoping that this is one that we can sit down at like Gen Con or something this year and demo. This is one that is going to stay on my list that I'm looking forward to playing. But there you go. Genotype, 9 days left, $39. Gets you the base game. Next is Parks. I was right when I had the thing going. Now it's Parks, and I messed up. So Parks has 8 days left, and this is the expansion to Parks. It's called Nightfall, and basically it almost doubles the amount of time it takes to play Parks if you play with Nightfall, because it's adding additional actions camping actions. So during the day you're hiking, and at night you're camping. as well as add some additional turns you can take each season and stuff like that. We actually have not gotten to play Parks. Megan and I are super into it. We want to play it, but every time we get close, it is sold out or they're not doing demos. So we have physically seen it, but we haven't got to play with it at all. But part of this expansion Kickstarter, you can buy the base game, which I support that. Why would you not do that? So you have the opportunity here to get it, and there's no risk of it sort of selling out. Along with the expansion, there's also something they're calling Parks Memories, which is sort of it's not part of Parks. It's sort of an additional game that sort of uses the same art, but it's a matching game, and you're just trying to match different tiles that have pictures from all the national parks in the United States. It's super cool. This is a gorgeous game. And people do really love it, and I can't wait until we can actually get it somewhere because we do want to. But that is the Parks expansion. It has 8 days left. You can get just the Nightfall expansion for $22. You can get both Nightfall and Memories for $44. And for $71, you can get the base game and the Nightfall expansion. And for $96, you get everything. The base game, the expansion, Memories, stretch goals, everything. So go check out the Parks expansion. I think that's the last board game we're talking about this week. The rest of this stuff is RPG. So next is Altered Carbon. The Altered Carbon RPG. Ivan Van Norman and his team of people have put this together. Eagle Eye viewers will notice that is Eric Ishii in the art for the beginning of Altered Carbon for this little logo. So him and Ivan and his friends and everybody that he works with, they worked really hard on this. It is a cyberpunk. If you don't know anything about Altered Carbon, the Altered Carbon universe, there is a Netflix show. I believe it was either a book or a graphic novel. But it's a cyberpunk future. And the big catch for this one is that when you die in the universe, you can basically transfer your consciousness to a new body. They call it resleeving, and it's super cool. And I am absolutely here to figure out how they use that as an RPG mechanic, because you can also use resleeving to like travel great distances. So you can like travel the galaxy in just like a second because you're taking your consciousness and basically emailing it to a new body. And what a concept. Especially for an RPG, but sort of in general as a fiction type writing as well. If you haven't watched the Netflix show, I highly recommend it. It is super great, and the new season is starting this month with Anthony Mackie, and I love me some Anthony Mackie. But go check that out. $25 is going to get you the PDF version of the RPG. $50 is going to get you the physical book, and then $100 gets you the deluxe version with sort of upgrades the book, and it gives you some extra modules you can play through, and it gives you some extra stuff that sort of enhance your experience. But it just looks super cool, and it has should be 15 days left on Altered Carbon. And then a brand new Kickstarter. It's called Descent into Madness. This is something that I saw because Eric Campbell is sort of championing this one on Twitter, because one of the stretch goals is if they raise enough money for this, him and his group that play Clear Skies over at Q Times on Twitch, they are going to run a game of Descent into Midnight. This is actually, for an RPG, it's a very unique idea. Apparently they've put a lot of time into this, but basically the premise, and I'm going to read it to you, a technologically advanced aquatic civilization that's never met humanity. In the RPG, it focuses on community, family, and hope. So as you protect the people from outside influences, both physical and emotional, as well as existential, so, you're sort of fighting yourself in this one. But it's a super cool concept. Plus, when you create your characters, you're also creating the world, because you are sort of intertwining your character creation with everybody that you're playing around. So the world sort of evolves around your creative choices when you're starting the game. Um, it's an original concept, so it's not really something that's easy to explain. However, on the Kickstarter page, they do have a link so that you can check out like the basic rules and stuff. So if you wanted to take a look at it yourself and try and figure it out before you buy it, that's there, and I think that's a super awesome resource. They also have several like actual playthroughs of streams that have gotten to play Descent into Midnight, linked on the Kickstarter as well, so you can check those out. $20 is going to get you the PDF of this. $40 is going to get you the hardback, and this last tier I think is super cool. If you pay, I do DK asked me, I do think it is kid friendly. Because they have this $80 tier that gets you a hardcover copy of the book, but as well, part of your $80 tier doesn't necessarily get you anything, but they're going to donate a hardcover book to schools, to libraries across the country, and I think that's super cool that they're sort of sending that out there so that RPGs can be available to kids and to people who don't necessarily have access to all of it. So yeah, that's super cool, and I love that idea. Plus, the very scant amount of art that they have on the Kickstarter page basically tells me that the aquatic creatures that you're going to be playing as can be left up to your imagination, because there's a giant lobster that one of his claws is actually a sword and not a claw at all. So, whoa. But that is Descent into Madness. It has 27 days left. $40 gets you the hardback, and $80 is going to donate a copy to a school or to a library, which I love. That's awesome. And finally, the last Kickstarter that we're going to be talking about today sort of accompanies something special that we got to do. This is going to be a little preview video for a full interview that I got to do with the creator of the game. So we're going to play that, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the Kickstarter and stuff. So check this out. Swords and Wizardry is a retro clone of the original RPG that would become Dungeons and Dragons. It's a snapshot of the rules as they were in Zero Edition in 1978. Swords and Wizardry contains all of the rules needed to create a character, play the game, and run monsters all in one book. The current Kickstarter contains 4 books that break up the original Swords and Wizardry into a player's book, a book of spells and magic, a book of monsters, and a referee book that's essentially a DM guide. There is also dice and a handful of other tools for the best Swords and Wizardry experience possible. There's also digital accessories, like individual books for spell classes that have all the spells just for each class, and decks of cards with the spells that go with each, as well as a book of more monsters and an adventure called Baron's Gambit. Swords and Wizardry is available for free just as the main book and as a PDF at froggodgames.com. One of the highlights, I think, of Swords and Wizardry is how quickly you can create a character and how quickly sort of the game moves, and especially the combat system, which, to me, reading through it, it's very streamlined, very much like a board game, which is what we focus on.
Yes.
And I was hoping that you could maybe expand on that a little bit, because I love it. I mean, just the sort of skimming through that I've done since I picked up the PDF, I love how sort of modular the combat is, in terms of everybody does this at one time, everybody does this one time, sort of in segments.
Right. I mean, that's definitely one of the ways in which it can be done. Original D&D didn't have an initiative system in it, which was probably the major, I would even have to say, flaw of the system. What we did in the book was say, here are about 6 different ways that people did it. From talking from people who played in the day to looking at different books and different systems. So you've actually got 6 different combat board games included in there. But the one that I like is actually the most board game like, because it's a phased initiative system, which is very different from what you see after that. And that's spells, missiles, and turning go. Then then melee goes, then movement goes, and then you can switch stuff around. And everybody around the table is doing whichever one of those things it is. So it's very much a phase system, like a war game.
Why do you think that 5th edition players will enjoy sort of stepping back in time and going to these earlier origins?
So I would say that, the people who might sort of think about getting into or trying out Swords and Wizardry are people who feel like maybe a little bit of the fantasy element is not being optimized by having specific rules for what a character class does. Somebody who feels like, gosh, that's a little mechanistic, or just it's too complicated. If that sort of suite of reactions to 5th edition are going to suggest that, you know what, you might have some fun playing the same game, but as it existed at a much earlier time when that had not yet been grafted into the game, and it's a much more free form sort of, we're all just around the table, we're imagining things.
Yes.
And just playing a game that's fairly loose in terms of the rules interpretation. So that I think is really the key difference.
That was Matt Finch. Matt Finch sort of put together, he wrote and curated everything that's in Swords and Wizardry. And so, like I said, you can get the PDF for free at froggodgames.com. Plus, they have the box set right now on Kickstarter. $25 on the Kickstarter is going to get you the digital bundle. So you'll get that main Swords and Wizardry book split up into 4 separate books, as well as a couple other additional things. So you're not... The book's available for free, so they wanted to make the digital sort of more appealing. So there's more stuff in there, like Baron's Gambit, which is the module you can run, and like the monster book. And then the first physical tier is $30, gets you the accessories bundle. So if you want to go grab the PDF for free and then just back at the accessories bundle, you're going to get a GM screen, which the art on the GM screen is absolutely gorgeous. Go on the Kickstarter just to check that out. But you're also going to get a physical copy of the More Monsters book, plus a physical copy of the Baron's Gambit, the module you can run. The first physical box set is $50. It comes with all those books. It comes with a set of dice. It comes with character sheets and stuff in the box. And then there's a collector's box for $55 that sort of just gives you all those same things, but sort of in a limited edition collector's set. That was super cool. I got to talk to Matt for about an hour, and we cut the whole interview down to about 25 minutes. And you can go watch that on YouTube right now. It's live, so you can check that out once we're done here. And that sort of leads a segue into, we're doing a new series called Conversations with Creators, and this is the first one. So go check out Swords and Wizardry on Kickstarter. It's got, hold on, it has, I just closed out of it. It has 15 days left. But definitely go check that out because Matt was super cool to sit down and do this with us. Plus, I got the book from their website, and I've read through some of it, and it's actually really cool, just as like a piece of memorabilia or nostalgia for like D&D stuff. Simply because these are the 0 edition rules of D&D, how it sat in 1978 before they officially called it D&D and were like, here's a thing that's going to end up becoming a multi-million-dollar organization. But there you go, Swords and Wizardry, super cool announcement. That is the Kickstarter Corner for this week. So there you go, check out all that stuff. I'm going to put all these links up in the Discord, in the Derek's Kickstarter Corner channel, so you can easily just jump right into Terranary, Genotype, Swords and Wizardry, or Descent into Midnight. Go check it out. There you go. Pow-pow.
When the time comes for a new game to play, there's just one place to turn at the end of the day. You never know what exciting game you'll see when you tune in to Board Game House on twitch.tv. Find a game to back so you can be its owner. It's time once again for Derek's Kickstarter Corner.
If you enjoyed this Kickstarter Corner, join us live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/BoardGameHouse. Also, we're going to post them here, so hit that subscribe button below.